Hello there. Something happened yesterday afternoon in the talk. We were waiting for the speaker to begin, and the woman sitting on the straw bale, same as me, next to me, she said, "This is the first festival I've ever been to in my life." And when she said those words, I looked very closely at her face and her eyes, and it told the whole story. And effectively what she was saying in those few words is, what on earth was I on? Why haven't I been doing this throughout my life? Because she must have realised they've been going pretty much all her life. It's like, wow, what a realisation. And I echo that with my own, because this is the first festival I've been to since 2007. I've been to camps, I've been to small events, but this is the very first festival since my last Glastonbury festival in 2007, where there'd be about 225,000 people there, which for England is huge. For India it's nothing, because the Kumbh Mela this year had estimates between 400 and 600 million, and I'm not exaggerating, between 400 and 600 million. And I realise our festival culture very much echoes what they do in India, and I'm also aware that it relates to Vedic civilization, which goes back many thousand years, as indeed does the Indian civilization, and there's a connection between India and the Vedic civilization as well. It all joined in together, and I am so grateful that I pushed myself. I am most grateful of all to Chris, my apprentice. He's trained to be a shaman, and he's the one that sent me the link to this festival. Without that link I would never have been here. I realise there's a new breed of festival now. I've been aware very dimly as a non-festival attendee. There's been less of the big ones, a lot more of the small ones. This is a small festival, and I would define this as a festival because there's a main stage, and the main stage pumps out music for most of the day and quite a lot of the evening, and I guess that's how I distinguish it between that and a camp. There's something so magical about coming to events like this, and it's kind of breathtaking, and I hardly even know where to start to attempt to explain this to people. But bottom line is, people, especially people in England, are much more free when they're at festivals. They let their hair down, often literally, and they embrace new experiences with a degree of enthusiasm and abandonment and delight, which is an absolute pleasure to witness and to be part of, and to find myself doing exactly the same thing myself. So a huge thank you to the people, all of the people that have created this festival. I'm very grateful I got to speak to Mandy a couple of days ago, when she explained that she's obviously a local person, and when what went on in 2020, people started to meet and stand in the park. That's a kind of a national phenomenon. Sunday morning people go out to the local park, and after that she built a new network of friends, and that's how she comes to be here. That's her story. But my story is, thank you Chris, because otherwise I wouldn't have been here. And I realise I want to say a little bit more about this new breed of festival. The thing about the new festival since 2020, when we were all exposed to an almost obscene degree of silence and isolation, if there's one thing that people know, it's that they've had enough of that. And come what may, regardless of any opinions from on high, it's what we do. We go out, we go into fields, preferably if there are trees, that's even better, and we meet people and we have a great time, and we learn things and we teach things. And so many people here who are not running workshops have taught me so much, and I've made so many notes. I've got my little blue book in which I write down all the interesting information I get from casual conversations and not so casual conversations, and of course from the workshops and the talks as well from the speakers. I've amassed a huge amount of information from being here, and in my own small way I've been able to contribute to other people. And what's been a really big surprise for me is about the response that people have to this yurt. When I used to go to festivals all the way from 1992 up to 2007, pretty much without a break, and sometimes even several festivals a year, then a yurt was a common sight in any festival and any campground. And this little squirt of mine actually has the honour of being the only one in the entire site, which is like really surprising. And because it's so tiny, it's only 8-foot diameter, I think that's excited a lot of interest from people. And so many people have complimented me on the yurt, asked me whether I made it myself, which I did more than 20 years ago, talk about it. We talk about what the yurt is made from, and the idea of people seeing someone who's created their own home, it touches a deep chord inside themselves. So I realised that my most significant contribution to this festival isn't anything that's come out of my mouth in terms of words. It's been simply to arrive, to put up this little squirt and to inhabit it, and to have my kitchen area and my wood burning stove and my altar area and all the other things. I've got my shamanic paraphernalia bag, my clothes, my cooking utensils, my spring water, the wood for the fire, it goes on. So that was quite an eye-opener for me. I did not expect that this would be my biggest contribution, effectively, simply to turn up with my own little home, which I built myself so long ago. Never imagined it would even last half this length of time, but so thank you very much. And this is my last film from Sounds Beautiful, and what I realise this is not my last festival, not by a long way. And I've got a whole bunch of flyers about other festivals of this kind. So as I attempted to explain earlier, it's festivals for people who were not too impressed with what went on in 2020, did a lot of critical thinking, had their eyes opened. There's one woman I spoke to on the first day, she said, 2020, that was my awakening. There are so many people for this is true, that was their awakening, it was 2020. And it's for people who want to get together and share and have that feeling of connection and community and unity. And no, we're not isolated, no, we are not separate. We are actually part of a whole. And this whole is so much more powerful than we might think. And there was a few speakers on a Sunday afternoon. I seem to remember one of the organisations was called UK Column, and they pointed out that there are a lot of things that people are doing in this country that are worrying those in power, because they're beginning to realise just how determined people are. And so I feel this is a very optimistic message to take back to my communities, that for those who have the time and the energy to study what's going on politically, bigger picture, this is the story. Things have not worked out the way they'd wanted, and we are so much more capable and powerful than we realise. And there are times when us taking action is literally bringing about the change that we want to see in this world. Thank you so much, and all the love to you. And who knows, maybe I'll see you at one of the festivals this summer. And in the description, or the comments, whichever, I'll get all my flyers out and give you the dates and the contact details if you want to go into any festivals and check them out for yourself here in England. There you go. All right, that's my promise. I'll make sure this happens. All love to you.